always amongst the seekers of the Islamic knowledge. Allahumma ameen, ya Rabbil Alameen. And actually, tonight's lecture, we will continue talking about the chapter number 34, which is Surah Saba, that talks about the people of Saba. And tonight, actually, I see myself have a certain goal that I want to reach to, which is to finish the story of the people of Saba. So you can please help me on doing this, because we have the rest of the story of Sayyidina Sulaiman and the story of the people of Saba. So let's go directly without wasting too much time. Yes, I might skip some of the minor details and to reach to that goal, inshallah, by the end of this lecture. So we talked yesterday about what Allah had granted the Prophet Dawood, and then on the top of what Allah had given to Dawood, Sulaiman had inherited his father Dawood, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted him even more. And what the dua that he asked Allah for, he said, "Oh Allah, give me the kingdom that nobody will have it after me." And that is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did actually. Allah answered his dua. And we talked yesterday and about the list of the favors, the bounties, the abnormal things that Allah had provided the Prophet Dawood and the Prophet Sulaiman with. And I don't want to repeat them. But one of the things that we talked about, that Allah had given him the control of some, do not forget the word, some of the jinn kind, not the entire creation of the jinn kind, because that will tell us, because if he can control all the jinn kind, he can know about them, he can control them, give them orders, and all of this, people might put him in a level that is equivalent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And even Allah confirming and asserting that point, that even that control to some of the jinn kind, it was by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But one of the things that we need to like actually, I see lots of people have a lack of knowledge about the jinn kind. Like if I told you, tell me, what do you know about the jinn kind? Barely you can tell me 2-3 points. But do we have a wider knowledge about the jinn kind, about like what are the qualities, the characteristics of the jinn kind? Yes, that needs lots of lectures, inshallah, we can talk about. But one of the things that I wanted you to know, that they have limitations. They were created before us, long time before the creation of Adam alayhi salam. And one of the limitations, one of the boundaries that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given to the jinn kind, that they cannot mix with the human beings. They cannot interfere in their life. They are not allowed to interfere. And if they did so, it would be a major sin in their Sharia. Do they have the same Quran like what we have? Yes, they have the Quran, and Allah ordered them to get the guidance through the Quran. They believe in the Quran, the jinn kind communities, like what we have, like our communities. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that they can see you, but you cannot see them. And the jinn kind, one of the things that, and that's even mentioned in the Quran, you know, Surah As-Saffat, verse number 28. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about the believers that on the day of judgment, they will complain about the jinn kind that they used to interfere in their life. They used to, Allah said in the Quran, mentioned about the believers, they said, "Innakum ta'tunana anil yamin." You used to come to us from the right side. Means you used to come interfere into our life, and that's mentioned in Surah As-Saffat. And also Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter number 2, verse number 275, Allah talked about كأنما يتخبطه الشيطان من المس, that somebody got touched by the jinn kind, means the jinn had influenced his mind. Imam, is that something real? Yes, it's real. It is something that we have in our Quran, that we have in our Sharia, and there are lots of ways to protect yourself against the shaitan, against the whisper of the shaitan, against the influence of the jinn kind or the shaitan as well. And also when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the Islam, gave the deen of Allah, Allah talked to the jinn kind and the human kind. And you know Surah Ar-Rahman, Ya ma'shar al-jinni wal-ins. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking, فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. What kind of favors or bounties of Allah you might deny? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about them. But going back to Sayyiduna Sulaiman, Allah gave him the control. So he used to give orders, and he was able to divide the jinn kind to groups. Those who can work as laborers, and those who can supervise them, and those who can police them. So he used to reward them and to punish them. Imam, can he punish the jinn kind? Yes, Allah gave him the ability to do that. How did I get that? I get that from the Quran. Allah said, وَآخَرِينَ مُقَرَّنِينَ فِي الْأَصْفَادِ. He used to chain them up. He used to make prisons to them. He used to put them in jail and chain the jinn up. That is Sayyiduna Sulaiman alayhi salam. But one of them, you know the word fitna? Okay, give me the best translation for the word fitna. Huh? Tribulations. That's one of the good ones. Huh? No. We need accurate, like more accurate. Discordance. And what else? Deception. You know, the word deception, that's fitna. And one of the deceptions that the jinn kind used to spread by whispering to people during the time of Sulaiman alayhi salam, that they have a certain power that they can know the unseen. You know, with their ability to fly and to move very quickly, they used to gather information from each other. And for you, that's a very speed, like they are speeding, and that's a very short time to get knowledge. So in very like 2-3 minutes, he tells you about, for example, brother Islam. Okay, why did he came late today? Okay, so just while he's praying, before nobody talks to him, they will tell you, oh, you know, because he stopped by Walmart. Okay, so for you that's unseen. For you that's unseen. But what's the definition of unseen? That's the most important thing. What is the definition? If I told you the unseen is rain, oh, you will tell me, Imam, I got on my application on the weather that it will rain after 5 minutes, and it will. And it rains after 5 minutes. That we had yesterday a tornado, okay? And they determined 2:35 a.m., okay? And that is, subhanAllah, so accurate. So that is knowing the unseen? No. That is the ilm, the knowledge that Allah had given to us, to give us part of what was unseen for some people. That is not the unseen for Allah. Let me tell you something. Does anyone know the nature of the soul in the bodies of the creatures of Allah? No. That is unseen. وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ قُلِ الرُّوحُ مِنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّ. When they ask you about the soul, say it's only belong to Allah. Okay, what is the unseen also? Can people know exactly when somebody's going to die? Like some doctors might say, okay, he has 2-3 months. Some doctors might say he had like from 1 week to 10 days left, based on the calculations, based on the lab work, based on his conditions and all of this. But can they determine exactly when it is going to die? No one. No one. Can anyone determine when the day of judgment will take place? No one. So that is the unseen. That is the unseen. That's why Allah gave us example. Allah said, فَلَمَّا قَضَيْنَا عَلَيْهِ الْمَوْتِ. When we had decreed that Sulaiman is going to die, Allah wanted to make his death as a sign and make his death very remarkable, so everyone can remember and they can listen from it. Sayyidina Sulaiman had a chamber, had a minbar, but that minbar made out of glass. And lots of narrations I wanted to take, I don't want to go to the details about the job that he assigned for the jinn at that time. He gave them lots of work, he gave them to build, to construct. Some of the narrations will talk about, he told them about the expansion of Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa, the expansion of Al-Quds, and he didn't want them, if he will die, he didn't want them to know, so they will stop working in Al-Quds, and he wanted them to finish the work up without all these details. Let's go to the main lesson here. Allah had caused him to die while he is standing, and he has his own stick. He was putting his chin on the stick. He was leaning on the stick and putting his chin on the stick, and Allah caused him to die standing. And why is that? Because the jinn kind used to work under his supervision, and they were scared. If they stopped work, he would punish them. And they worked and worked and worked, and none of them had knew that he passed away. And some of the narrations, and do not get shocked, okay, do not get surprised. Allah preserved the body of Sulaiman alayhi salam, and Allah made him to stand like this, King Solomon, to die standing and leaning on his stick, putting his chin on the stick and standing. For how long? For how long? The minimum. No, the minimum had the scholars agreed upon 6 months. Some of them said 1 year. 6 months. Let's go with that, the majority of the scholars. 6 months. He stood up like this. Then Allah said, they didn't find out, they didn't recognize his death until Dabbatul Ard, a little insect, started to eat his stick. And when the stick got eaten or got weak, he fell down. He dropped. That time, they realized that he passed away. So what was the lesson for all of them and for everybody else? That the jinn kind cannot know the unseen, cannot know what is going to happen in the future. Nowadays, you see, we are talking about something happened a long time ago. Do you think in 2023, we are suffering from this till today? That some people got deceived, that the jinn kind, not only jinn kind, that some people might know the unseen? Yes. We are close to the Christmas time, right? And people amongst the shows that you find in the TVs, they bring somebody, somebody who knows. Yes, and that he reads about, you know, the movements of the planets and all. Somebody knows about the planets and all of this, and they will tell them, what do you think about the next year? I think Chelsea will win the Champions League. Okay, what do you think about this? Oh, that actor will die, and that movie will, you know, will be spreaded like a rocket, and the market, the stock market will collapse. The gold will go up. Where's Dr. Yusuf? Okay, okay, astrologist. So yes, so they go with that term of, they are pretending like they know the unseen. Do not wonder, those are the successors of the jinn kind in human form. Means what? They followed the teachings of the jinn kind. And that is actually the shaitan, what the shaitan made, so he can empower the jinn. So people can enslave them, enslave themselves to the jinn. Have you ever heard about somebody who's claiming that he has the control of jinn and he can send jinn to other countries? So he can, like one day I was, you know, I was in, I think that was in 2012, something like that, 2013 maybe. Like somebody called me and he said, Imam, we were digging and trying to build our house, and I think we got like some ancient gold from pharaohs or something. So could you use your jinn to know exactly if we had a treasure here before we dig? I said, no, that is haram, and nobody has the control. It's a deception. That's khida', that's lies. So that's a deception. So then after 2 days, I met him. I said, hey, what did you make with your jinn? He said, don't worry. We called other country. I will not mention the other country, of course, out of respect. So we called somebody in another country, and that man, he said he has a jinn, and he started to tell us, dig more and more and more. And he said he confirmed that we will find gold. I said, hey, then what happened? He said, we started to get and dig and dig and dig. We just got water, and that's it. I said, where's the gold? He said he know nothing about anything. So subhanallah ya rabbil alameen. It's all about the iman. Do you have iman in your heart or not? So that was the story of the death of Sayyiduna Sulaiman alayhi salam. Then Allah, remember, I told you Allah is giving us 2 consecutive examples for people that Allah had bestowed his favors upon them, and they were grateful, like Dawood and Sulaiman, and other people who denied the favors of Allah, and Allah did what? Allah took the ni'mah away from them. Pay attention, please, to the main lesson here. This story that I'm about to start, it's a life-changing story. Allah said, the people of Saba, in their dwellings, in their houses, they had a sign from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah had granted them 2 gardens, one on the right side and one on the left side. But who are the people of Saba? I told you the authentic hadith that Abdullah ibn Abbas had narrated. A man who came to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he said, "O Messenger of Allah, I wanted to ask you about Saba. Who is Saba? Is he a man? Is he a woman? Are they people?" So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave the answer. He said, Saba was a man. And we talked about the qualities of this man, his characteristics. A wise, noble man who had 10 children. 6 of them stayed in Yemen, and 4 of them went to Sham, Syria, Palestine, and all of these areas. And the 6 of Yemen, those who started what we call it, the Arabs that we know. So the Arabs that you know, they started like the beginning of them, what they call al-Arab al-Musta'riba. So they started from those 6 of the men, and when they eventually, we will come to a certain incident, they started to spread in the entire world, and they started to form the Arabian Peninsula in Mecca, Medina, and all of these areas. But that's the original source of having the Arabs and their accent and delicates and all of these things. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that those people, the people of Saba, in their dwellings, in their houses, Allah had created a miraculous sign, something magnificent, something beyond our imagination. Look at what Allah had granted them. Allah had granted them green lands. Allah had granted that community gardens. Allah had granted them stability, safety, rivers, nice weather, and the most important one, disease-free area. They never complained of any disease. Healthy, fresh air. Allah gave them nice and ripe fruits and crops. Allah had granted them everything, literally. It seems like it was Jannah on earth. You know Jannah? Jannah. Okay, let me pause here because it's very important information. What is the word jinn and Jannah means? If we said jinn and Jannah, when we come to a certain, like what's the original word? It comes from Jann. You know the word Majnun? Junun? What is Majnun? What is Junun? Madness, craziness. So it's coming from the same meaning. Jinn means the hidden one. And since the blessings of Jannah are hidden, that's why it's called Jannah. And since the awareness and the mindset of somebody who lost his conscience, so it's not there anymore, that is why it is called Majnun. Majnun means the absence of his mind, of his intellectuality. Min Jannah and Jannah. So Jannah, Majnun, Jinn, all of them are coming from the same meaning. Something is hidden. Yes, his mind will go away. Okay? If you saw Jannah, your mind will go away. So it will be Majnun. You will be in Jannah and Majnun. You get the same. Okay? But inshallah, Allah will preserve our minds. Okay? So now, what else that Allah had granted them? Look at this. Allah had made their villages very close. And they had the shade all the year time. They had shade. They do not want to travel. They do not want to sweat. They do not want to carry their luggages. Whenever they go, they can eat, they can rest. Can you imagine this life? Just picture this in your mind. 2 big gardens, nice weather, stability, fresh air, like you have the AC in the streets, you know? So that is how Allah made them. And look at what's so amazing. Imam Ibn Qayyim had mentioned that. And he said, you might have a woman during that time, she is carrying a basket. And she goes all the way through the garden From the right side, she moves to the left side, and she finds all the basket got filled with the fruits without even touching. Like she goes with an empty basket, and by the end of the road, she gets the basket full of the fruits, ripe fruits. That's Jannah on earth. So what did Allah ask them? Allah said two things: eat, enjoy, and be thankful to Allah. For many years, they ate and they were thankful, till there was a generation who were rebellious, who denied the favors of Allah. And they didn't thank Allah enough for His ni'mas. And Allah said, they turned away. They did not thank Allah, and they started to deny the favors of Allah. Let me give you an example. And I am sure that will shock you. And you will say, that is so strange, Imam. How come they say that? You know what did they say? They made a dua to Allah. They say, oh Allah, قالوا ربنا باعد بين أسفارنا. Oh Allah, we do not want the villages to be close. We do not want the short trips. Oh Allah, give us the long distance. Let us sweat. Let us be scared. Let us not to be safe. Let us get tired. Oh Allah, we got bored of having this comfortable life. Oh Allah, let us be tired. Let us get sick. Let us be, like we want to feel that tiredness. Can you imagine somebody will say that? Yeah, like the Bani Israel. So can you imagine somebody will say that? And I will compare with our situation, but not now. They said, oh Allah, give us the long distance. Oh Allah, take that ni'mah away from us. We don't want that anymore. We got bored of it. What Allah said, وَظَلَمُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ. They oppressed themselves. That's why, if do not think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will oppress somebody. People are oppressing themselves. And what Allah said, look at the punishment. Now I told you about the favors. Look how Allah mentioned the punishment. And I have the key word for tonight, one word. It is called وَبَدَّلْنَاهُمْ. Allah. You know, that word, like it shakes me from inside. This is the word that I am frightened about. I am scared about. وَبَدَّلْنَاهُمْ. Allah had replaced them. With what? بِجَنَّتَيْهِمْ. جَنَّتَيْهِمْ. They got two gardens. Allah replaced the two gardens with other two gardens. So now they still have the two gardens. But these new two gardens, ذواتي أكل خمط وأثل وشيء من سدر قليل. Now the taste of the fruits became so bitter, and the taste of the vegetables and their crops, it was so bad, and Allah destroyed their crops, and Allah destroyed their greenery landscaping, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala turned that to a thorny fruits that give them difficult time to take out, difficult time to harvest, and it will make them bleeding. It gives them hard time to take it out. Instead of moving with the basket and fill it, now you have to get to the thorns, to the middle of the thorns, so you can get your fruits. and it's so bitter. It tastes very bad. And you know what? And Allah said, even if I give them very little of sidr. What is the sidr? You know the lut tree? It's the lut tree. Allah said, I give them few of the lut tree. Something very bitter in the taste. Yes, and it is also from Jahannam. That's one of the trees of Jahannam that Allah had mentioned in Surah Al-Waqi'ah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had replaced. Allahu Akbar. Imam, what do you mean by that word? Baddalnahum. So if you denied the favors of Allah, most of us, we think, oh, if Allah wanted to punish me, Allah will explode my house. No. It would be the same. So you will have the same wife, the same children, the same house, the same car, the same food, everything the same. But Allah will replace the barakah in it. You know, some people, they do not appreciate when we say barakallahu feek. Hey, Imam, no problem. Please make a strong dua. Do you want stronger than this? That's why some of the scholars said, do not ask Allah for more. Ask Allah to bless what you have. Do not ask Allah for more. Ask Allah to give you barakah in what you have. So you will have the same house, the same wife, the same car, the same fruits, the same food, the same body. But the barakah will be taken out. It will be taken away from you. So the wife will be disobedient. The kids will be disobedient. They will give you a hard time. The car will break down. Yes, you will have a miserable life. The food will not taste good. You will not be healthy like before. You will have the best of the food, the most expensive food ever, but you are not happy. And before, maybe you gather, you and your kids, and you have a little bit of food, and even you are snatching that food from each other. The kids are fighting. They want to take some of that food. They are laughing, smiling, cheering up. And the house is full of barakah. The house is full of enjoyment. And maybe you are struggling financially, but you have a righteous wife, nice kids, polite, decent, nice. And maybe you have an old car, very old car. Barely it can walk. Barely you can drive it. Barely you can, go to another state or something. But you are happy in this car. So do not think that Allah, to change the ni'mah, He will send you an angel and say, hey, count. After 10 minutes, Allah will change the ni'mah. No, that change will happen slightly in your life. وَبَدَّلْنَاهُمْ. That's the key word. We replaced. That's why, please, the advice for me and for all of us, check on the things that Allah had replaced and say to yourself, you know what? Allah replaced this. Because of me, there's something I need to work on. There's something that I need to thank Allah for. Maybe I did something and Allah is punishing me. That's actually what we need to do. You know what Allah said to the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? What Allah said at the end of Surah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, chapter Muhammad. I want you go search chapter Muhammad, the last verse. The last verse. I remember my dad, may Allah bless him and give him barakah, ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. He reminded me of this verse in 2007. I got a little problem in one of the masajid. Like I was like giving lecture or giving something, and leading salah. And some people are not used to that type of knowledge, and they like there is some clash had happened. So with no experience at that time and no wisdom at all. So I got mad and I went to the management. I want to move from this masjid to another masjid, and I wrote my letter to the supervisor, to my manager, and I did lots of, like I was so angry at that time. So he waited for me till I calm and I cool down. Then he asked me a question, and he said, "You are the Imam, and now you can answer me." He said, "How many stones that people had thrown to the feet of the Prophet Muhammad on the day of the Ta'if?" I said, "Many, plenty." He said, "And you want from the first stone to run away and leave the battlefield?" Read the last verse of Surah Muhammad. What Allah said. When I read it, I am as a one who is hafid for the Quran. For me, it was like the first time I read it. It was like I read it thousands of times. But when he reminded me of this, it was as it is the first time I read it. It woke me up. It woke me up. What Allah said? Allah said, وَإِن تَتَوَلَّوْا يَسْتَبْدِلْ قَوْمًا غَيْرَكُمْ ثُمَّ لَا يَكُونُوا أَمْثَالَكُمْ. If you give your back to the way of Allah, Allah is going to replace you with people who will be better than you, and they will never do like what you did. Allahu Akbar. So the key word here also, replacing. So you are doing adhan, for example, and there is somebody, I will use that American term, somebody is harassing you. Somebody is, like pushing you, I want to do this, or give you bad comments on your adhan, give you something. And if you came the other day, you know what, Imam, I will not make adhan. Okay. What do you say? You will give your back to the way of Allah? Do you think that the masjid, the house of Allah, will be empty? No. Allah will send his soldiers to serve, and they will be better than you. Like you as an Imam, if you saw something wrong, you got a clash or something, then you said, no, I got mad and I will leave. Okay, leave. Open the door for him. Not problem. What do you think? Allah will leave his house? No. Allah will bring who is better than you to this masjid. Somebody who is managing. Who is a manager, as a manager, managing a masjid, managing the house of Allah, doing programs, doing projects. Then he got mad with the people, got conflict. Have sabr. Have sabr. This is the field of sabr. Imam al-Qayyim said, وَالصَّبْرُ عَلَى الْمَأْمُورِ وَالْمَحْذُورِ وَالْمَقْدُورِ. Sabr has three types. On ma'mur, the commands of Allah. Mahdur, the prohibition. And the maqdur, the destiny of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You need to have sabr. And that's what happened. So, subhanallah, the key word here is replacement. So Allah did with the people of Saba, Allah replaced their ni'mah with another things. And Allah said, ذَلِكَ, all what you have heard. You might say, Imam, but Allah, why do you think that Allah had made all of this? On the top of that, they had the source of protection for their gardens, which was the dam. A dam, a big, huge dam, like 575 length and like 575 meters length and 900 meters width. Can you imagine? That's the how big that dam was. It is called Ma'rib, Sad Ma'rib. Related to the city, it is called Maghrib, and that was the capital of Yemen at that time. So Allah made with a blink of an eye, Allah made that dam to get collapsed, and all their gardens got drowning. They lost everything. Why? Because they didn't thank Allah for the ni'mas. But Imam, I have a big house. What is going to happen to the house? That's Allah's plan. Do not worry. Do not worry. Like if Allah willed something, it will happen. I have my insurance and I have the car, blah, 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 blah. Because we became so materialistic. We thought that the material things will protect us from the destiny of Allah. It will befall on us. That is wrong. So pay attention to that case. Allah destroyed them. And how Allah wrapped this story? Allah said, ذَلِكَ جَزَيْنَاهُمْ بِمَا كَفَرُوا وَهَلْ نُجَازِي إِلَّا الْكَفُورِ. We did that to them because they denied. Don't you know that I will not do this only, I will do this only to the people who are denying? Means Allah will not punish those who are grateful. Allah will not punish those who will show the gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, I come to the last question. Imam, I have ni'mas of Allah. And I do not want to lose them. Allah made the dam to scatter. Allah had scattered them. And by the way, after what happened after the dam, those 6 brothers, they started to spread on earth. They went to other areas. They started to form the Arabian Peninsula, and they started to get married and have tribes. One of those tribes, as I told you before, Himyar and Kinda. Kinda was one of the famous and those who had a good reputation in the history of the Arabian Peninsula afterwards. And they got formed with the other 4 brothers afterwards. They met and they got married. They got mixed from each other. And subhanallah Rabbil Alameen, that was the beginning, the collapsing of the dam of Maghrib. And Allah destroyed their ni'mah at all. Now, how can I thank Allah for all what I have? Remember what Allah said to Dawood alayhi salam. Do you remember? Allahu Akbar. One word. I'malu. I'malu. Act. Do work. Exert effort. Thanking Allah is not by your tongue to say, Shukran, Shukru lillah. Rabbana laka alhamdu wa shukr. Alhamdulillah. It's not by the tongue. And I'm sorry to say that. Yes, thank Allah by using the ni'mah of Allah as He ordered you to use. Yeah, like He gave you money. Use that money in serving the religion of Allah. Turn your statements, make them and turn them into actions on the ground. Try to help. Do something. It's not only by your tongue. And I could tell you a lot about our real life. You might say, Imam, they asked Allah to give them the long trip to be sweat because they got bored of it. Yeah, you might have a brother that Allah give him good house, stability, righteous wife, so good with him. They have a loving story and all of this. And then he denies, he gives his back, and he starts to look for somebody else in haram. So what happens? Allah will destroy his dam. Allah will take the barakah away. Then he finds the wife all of a sudden changed. The kids became rebellious, ungrateful. What happened? He was doing something there. Pay attention, because this is the ni'mah of Allah, to preserve it, to keep it, Be thankful to Allah by your actions, not by your tongue. Yeah, and yeah, it's working till the day of judgment. And actually, it happened with lots of nations nowadays. But I do not want to mention how many of nations they wasted food. We know them. I know them by name. They wasted food, and now they are starving to get food. Lots of countries throughout the history, they denied the favors of Allah. They took it to be against the deen of Allah. They took it to use that ni'mah in the disobedience of Allah. And they called them Muslim countries. And Allah had turned this ni'mah into punishment. May Allah protect us all. Allahumma ameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen. جزاكم الله خيرا. بارك الله لي ولكم في القرآن العظيم ونفعني وإياكم بما فيه من آيات والذكر الحكيم وصل اللهم وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. جزاكم الله خيرا for having patience till we finish the story. بارك الله فيكم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.